Hey everybody, this is Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. It's about 8:30 p.m. here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on June 3rd, 2020. I hope everybody's staying safe. I usually try, because I'm targeted, with remote directed energy weapons, remote neural monitoring, remote neural manipulation, like horrible gang stalking. How I try and survive is I try and put things into perspective. I try and say, okay, well, I've got this much health left, this much energy left, I've got this information I can help people with. We've got to make people aware of this situation. When things are out of control, the strength is, and with God's help, and I think a lot of you guys do this too, we try and put things into perspective, right? Like, this is how we can handle what we're being dealt. And we need strength from God, and we need miracles. In this situation, what's going on in our country right now, what's going on in the world, and it's impossible. It's impossible to put it into perspective. So I just want to do a short video, and I want to talk about, because I know there are people, white and black, who are saying, well, it's time for a revolution, and it's just time for this revolution. But I want to put this into a certain perspective in everybody. And with my videos and my channel, I'm kind of preaching to the choir. Y'all understand how bad this could be, how this plays into the hands of the New World Order on the surface, right? Martial law, contact tracing, which I'm going to go through this article, but it plays so much into what the military-industrial complex wants to do with research, experimentation, and surveillance of everybody underneath the surface, which they're not going to mention to anybody. So you're going to have a lot of the public in this country, well, especially in America, right, with what's happening now, who are going to be begging for martial law, right? And this is obvious. They're going to be begging for martial law. They're going to be begging for more on the surface contact tracing, surveillance, because of rioters, because of what they are calling domestic terrorists. But what people aren't talking about, haven't talked about, will not talk about, are the things that the public is not going to know about. Certain members of the public are going to participate in on certain levels, DHS fusion centers, InfraGard, and then contractors under the NSA, contractors under the CIA, contractors under a bunch of different arms of the military, the DoD. They're going to receive public funding because of this. They're going to receive funding immediately, like emergency funding from Congress, emergency taxation from the citizenry to pay for surveillance of people in their homes, and also because this kind of stuff, this targeting, from a standpoint of where these contractors on the NSA and CIA are doing it, they call to the people who are funding it, they say it's extrajudicial punishment and surveillance, but it's going to be, severe torture, severe mind control, severe neural monitoring, severe, like those type of things, and that's going to be grown at an emergency level, like right now. But then if these riots don't stop, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. On the surface, we all see the stuff on the surface, but from beneath the surface, and I've talked about this, from beneath the surface, there's going to be more and more funding, not only from Congress and the public taxation, to increase the funds of these contractors to do horrible mind rape and torture and surveillance of people's homes, but black budgets will go up too. Not just emergency funding, but then funding, weeks after this, weeks and months after this. So it's really, really bad. I don't have to tell anybody that, right? Impossible to put it in perspective. In my personal targeting, like I'm not out rioting, but I've got two new black gentlemen and two new white gentlemen who are gang stalking me in my condo. The gang stalking has increased tenfold. Tenfold. I had a private plane that has those things, you know, those things that it can land in the water. I've never had one of those actually, that kind of air harassment or you know, private airplane harassment. I've never seen one of those airplanes. So like my targeting's through the roof, like through the roof, because what's happening, and I bet you all of you guys who watch my video, your targeting is a whole lot worse, because what happens is these riots are going on, cities are burning, people are being killed, and then people who are participating in gang stalking, DHS fusion centers, InfraGard, you know, my neighbor who does noise campaigns, they say, oh, okay, oh, America, there's a bunch of domestic terrorists doing this activity. We need to clamp down. We need to do this activity more. So even just the current gang stalking activity increases tenfold. Nobody talks about it. Nobody has talked about it, right? Even like a lot of truthers stay away from this subject, but it, boom, skyrockets, right? Some of you guys, men and women, you know, this may be an obvious thing that's happening. This is not a revolution where race relations are going to get better. It's not even something where freedoms are going to be taken back. This is going to play, this is common sense. I think this is common sense to everybody, right? This is going to play right into the hands of a lot of surface agencies for martial law to come in, for the president to take more powers, but it's also going to play into the hands of the military-industrial complex that wants to monitor people's brains and surveil them in their homes and torture them in their homes. It's going to play into their hands in such a way as we have never seen. You guys know, I want to bring positive news. I want to bring hope. In this situation, I think that the bottom line is, if you do have a Twitter page or a YouTube channel or anything else, you need to really call for these riots, for everything to stop. And the National Guard's been called out in all these cities, and it's curtailing it. Like, and I'd be like, oh well, that's a good thing. It's going to stop the riots, but it's really a bad thing, solidifying power, right? But we need a call for these to stop the bleeding, and make sure that agencies under the NSA, agencies under the CIA, and other DoD, Department of Justice agencies, that funding can be stopped as much as possible, because it will destroy so many lives. It's destroying targeted individuals' lives. This is the worst thing ever. And as a matter of fact, just from my perspective and what I'm seeing, in just common sense, I think this is going to make racial tensions the worst they've been in decades. So I don't see how anybody, white or black, sees that this will improve race relations somehow and make things more equal. That is completely and I'm it's stupid. It's the stupidest thing ever. It's not even in the ballpark of the reality of what we're dealing with. So I want to read these articles to you. We need to stay aware, and I think that people who are experiencing this targeting, and my targeting has been like 10 times worse. Not just the gang stalking aspect of it, because people are reacting, right? We got people reacting in a cycle. But the torture, the severe torture, severe nervous system burning and manipulation, the V2K and everything, it's increased because in this chaos, these military-industrial complex agencies under the surface can get away with a whole lot more, right? If everybody's bandying about the word domestic terrorist, then somebody's pointing out in a neighborhood. It doesn't matter if they're a peaceful protester, if they don't do anything, if they don't do any activism, if they point them out and call them a domestic terrorist, they will be tortured so severely. I'm actually predicting that targeting will, in America at least, and I think this is cascading across the world, right? The riots are kind of cascading, and it's people are like, it's time for revolution. This is going to make it so much worse for everybody. And I'm thinking right away, like right when the riots get stopped, you're going to see a doubling, like a 2 times as many targets in America at least. People are going to be waking up with their ears ringing. People are going to be coming knocking on their door, but you're going to have 2 times much. I guess the thing is, like, there will be more people experiencing it, so maybe more people can be speaking out. But it's really hard to put this all in perspective. It's just America's burning. A lot of ex-intelligence agencies are like speaking up in news articles saying this is what happens before a country falls. So I mean, and I guess this is obvious, right? But I just want to, from being a targeted individual, I definitely want to make a video and say, look, everybody who thinks this is some kind of revolution, I'm preaching to the choir on my videos, but this is what I would say to people who are not targeted individuals, who don't know about like what intelligence agencies are doing. I'd say this is not a revolution. This is going to make things a million times worse. The things that are trying to be corrected, it's going to make those things worse on the surface. But not only that, it's going to destroy lives and put people into these programs, these surveillance, rape, and torture programs, because these secretive programs are going to have they're going to be beefed up. They're going to be beefed up whenever we're talking about domestic terrorism. It's part of the plan. This is all planned. Not only the protests were astroturfed, and I think the protests are awesome. I think the protests are awesome. I think George Floyd's death was a tragedy. And Chauvin, needs to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And then the protest saying we need change can't be used against us. That can't really. And a lot of the protesters might be targeted and stuff like that just for being an activist, but they can't use that against anybody. The riots can be used against all of us. The people that are going to pay for this are minorities, poor white people, and minority middle class and minority whites. That's who's going to pay for everything that's going on. The cabal at the top, politicians and everything like that, bad cops, not going to pay for any of this. Hopefully, I think there's going to be a lot of lip service, and I think that there probably will be some changes. There probably will be some extra safety protocols for officers and stuff like that. But the kind of death and torture that's going to be going on underneath that is going to just blow that out of the water. And I think it's as targeted individuals, we do have a responsibility. I know that we need help, and that's not getting talked about right at all. If we don't understand, if people don't understand that problem, and they just feed into it, and then people are like, well, we need a revolution, right? Like the spirit of revolution, I am wholeheartedly like, I get it, but you have to understand. Like, and I'm preaching to the choir, so this is what I would tell people who didn't understand. You have to understand what's happening. You have to understand how this feeds everything and feeds the system, and who's going to get punished, right? Who's going to pay for all this? Like, not pay with money, but pay with your lives. Pay with like losing all of your mental freedoms and things like that. So this is really bad, and all you guys know this. I just want to go over 2 articles really quick. I might have to start supplementing with some short videos because the physical torture, just my body can't do a whole lot. I'm just gonna see, but I want to go through this. I just hope everybody's staying safe. I hope this ends soon, and maybe more awareness about these under the surface programs can come out, because I think a lot more people are gonna be tortured, surveilled, and remote neural monitored. I think that's just a definite thing. I don't know what to say. It's trying to find a silver lining, right? Trying to find a silver lining in this, but it's not gonna. like these, even, well, the protests are good, but because you have the riots, everything that the people who really believe in revolution and want change and want equality, it's going to do the opposite of that on the surface, and it's going to create horrible, way more funding, beefing up the intelligence agencies' tortures on the bottom. And I think that as targeted individuals, we need to speak out on that. We need to speak out about what's happening in the world, right? That even some truthers like maybe don't know. They're like, nah, remote neural monitoring, that's crazy talk, blah blah. People need to know what we're facing so we can, so then we can figure out how to act. I don't know the answer, guys. Like I'm for what I'm doing, I think a lot of Christians, I'm looking to God right now because it looks like the world's falling apart. Trying to survive, trying to think of ways that we can, be more healthy as target individuals, try and get awareness out about this. But just, it's like wave after wave on the surface, and I'm just like, oh, this is too overwhelming. What do we do? What do we do? But let me read this. So Minnesota is now using contact tracing to track protesters as demonstrations escalate. So this is from, hold on one second. So this is from BGR. This is from May the 30th. So this is on the surface. This is what the public's going to be told about. They're going to be like, well, we had this thing in place, contact tracing, just like we had everybody wearing masks in place, and then so the rioters could be more anonymous. We had the National Guard ready and to give out vaccines. It was all just in place, just a coincidence, a good coincidence, right? This is all planned, and we know that. So this is on the surface, though, right? Contact tracing is going to be used to, track anybody who might be considered, domestic terrorist threat to the United States. Starting in Minnesota, but then it's going to go out to all the other states where the riots were really big, and then it can be rolled out in other states. Just make an excuse to roll out, right? And then say, well, we just need it for the time being. And this is just on the surface, right? The martial law and the contact tracing, that's what they're going to tell the public, right? That's the stuff they're telling the public about. And as targeted individuals, we know that, like, we're being murdered in our homes, and that's just being overlooked and not talked about. The public isn't told about it, but they're participating on certain levels in the gang stalking and things like that. Like, I didn't go out and protest or riot. I try and just, I want to get healthier as a target individual. I want to end this torture. I want to help you guys. And so I wasn't out rioting, obviously, but I have more new people in my community who are gang stalking me because they're reacting, they're scared, and they're like, okay, this person's the scapegoat, right? They're the dangerous person in our community, and we need to do more of what they wouldn't call it gang stalking. They would call it like surveillance or whatever. So I mean, this is probably impacting all of you guys who are targeted. It's probably escalating your targeting because it's escalating mine. And I'm trying not to be selfish because there are people dying in the streets. I think I know of one officer. I can't remember his name, but he was shot trying to defend a store. We really need to pray for his family. We really need to think about him, because that is a really tragic death. So many people are losing their lives, are getting maimed from this. This is not anything that's going to help any. This is only going to feed into the immediate death, right? The immediate death, the immediate hatred, the immediate death. But then it's going to feed all the people that the rioters are like. That some of the rioters, because some of the rioters are just out there to get TVs and stuff, and they don't care about any of this. But some want a revolution, and they think it needs to be violent. It's going to play into the hands of the people that you're trying to revolt against. And as a targeted individual, trust me, like I've been tortured for many, many years. I'm speaking to the choir, right? but as a target individual, I've been tortured for so many years, and I've thought about these things. Like, how do we have to be creative, peaceful, and sophisticated, because any kind of violence is just going to play into the hands of the people that are hurting us, that is creating the injustice. Um, so Minnesota protests are continuing to escalate and inspire similar demonstrations around the country in the wake of police killing an unarmed Minneapolis man this week named George Floyd. Minnesota officials say they're using contact tracing to better understand who the protesters are and where they're coming from. Contact tracing has previously been used as part of a comprehensive coronavirus response. As the Minnesota protests have spilled across the country, fueled by protesters angered over the police killing of an unarmed Minneapolis man named George Floyd, the protests have morphed into marches and demonstrations that have turned violent everywhere from New York City to Los Angeles. Curfews are being imposed in major cities around the U.S. at the time of this writing, and at least 8 states, as well as the District of Columbia, have requested the National Guard to assist local law enforcement. So this is before Trump, made the announcement that he's, sending in the National Guard to, if the governors don't use them, he will use them, right? And that's going on right now. They're trying to contain it. Ooh. And I have these Schumann resonators. I have 3 of them. Or I had 3 of them. And I kept 2 in this pocket. I had them when I went to sleep last night. They really work. I woke up and they're gone without a trace. Like, without a trace. Like, looked all around where I slept. Was looking in here. Like, these things work really good. And they're gone without a trace. Like, so somebody is coming into my house when I'm coming into my apartment when I'm asleep, taking stuff from my person while I'm sleeping. Like, I mean, that's how bad this stuff is escalating where I live. And it's, my problem, like, defenses work and stuff like that for a couple of years. Like, these people who are torturing us just have so much time, and nobody's even touching this. Nobody's even talking about how people are being tortured, mind controlled in their homes. This is we all know it's insane. This is insane. It's not gonna create anything good. The problem is that people don't understand. Like, white and black, people don't understand, like, and you guys do who are watching this video, you understand how bad it is, you understand the surveillance in our homes, you understand that a lot of these things that the intelligence agencies are doing, they ain't going to talk about, and most of the percentage of the public is going to think it's like mental illness or something. So you have people that are like, okay, we want some stuff on the surface to change, and they go out there and it just feeds all this stuff that nobody talks about. So not understanding what we're dealing with and who we're dealing with and how they work, if you're reacting to that, if you're taking action against something without any knowledge of how it works, it's going to play into its hands, right? This is a very, very dangerous time. Obviously, right? In some cities like Minneapolis, though, officials are starting to turn to a familiar tool to investigate networks of protesters. The tool is contact tracing. And so contact tracing is a thing that stems from the beta testing of gang stalking, of community-based harassment, community-based surveillance, DHS Fusion Center, surveilling persons of interest, but it's really just 24-hour a day, using technology to harass, noise campaigns, to destroy somebody's life while they're being nailed with directed energy weapons. Their brain is being neural monitored, like remote neural monitor, using electromagnetic frequencies to look at their thoughts and send signals back to the brain. Like, some of my mind control is just like out of control. I'm like, okay, got to figure out what I'm going to do and try and be as good as I can to people and help my family, because I don't know if I'm going to be, like, I don't know if my brain's going to work the same next year. It's brain injury while intrusively raping your thoughts. Like, people have to know that this stuff's going on because, well, and there's astroturfing. The protests for astroturf, and I would say that's bad, but the riots were astroturf. The riots were funded. The riots were funded by organizations that just thrive in America, you know. And you see in this pyramid, right? And I say that, I think I've been saying this a lot. In the pyramidal structure, you have this layer that's being astroturfed and going out to riot and stuff like that, like Antifa, in other organizations, and they're like, it's gonna create this kind of change, but then the layer above them is manipulating them for a different kind of change, right? So we have to be careful about what we do. This is what I would say to people who probably don't watch my video, because everybody who watches my videos, we know that this is like totally fabricated. The population has been manipulated. So I mean, the only thing that I can think of, besides like, let's get right with God and let's get close to God and let's get together and think about better ways to survive, right? Just survive, but awareness. And I think that even a lot of hardcore truthers that are really have their finger on the pulse of the truth, they even need to be aware of how far this is going. It's going so far, and nobody's dealing with it. How can any changes be affected? How can anything be fought when the worst underlying issue, I sound like a broken record, I know, but the worst underlying issue, mind manipulation, mind rape, mind torture, surveillance that is in everyone's homes, millions and millions of people. After this, it's going to be double. It's going to be double. They're going to use this to create so much tyranny. I don't understand how, like, people like Antifa, they're like, yeah, social change, and we want to make everything equal and stuff like that. Black Lives Matter, we want to make everything equal, and then violence occurs, and it plays right into the hands of some of the most evil people who do not care if, well, actually, no, these programs are pretty racist. Black women are the top percentage of those targeted, so it's racist, but screwing over and mind raping black, white, Asian, Indian, Hispanic, I'm sorry if I missed a Native American, everyone, screwing over everyone. I heard somebody say, this isn't so much about race, and I think there's a misdirection. This is a class struggle. Like, I just want to say that, like, I'm white, my family's middle class, I'm being screwed, and my family's being screwed right there with every other race that's being screwed. We're with you in the same boat. I think it's not. I think it's a misstep. It's a misstep to think the priority is racial struggles between the middle class and the poor class, because the priority enemy are those that are up at the top of the pyramid who hate us all equally. So kind of that's just my general view. It's such a complicated issue, right? And I do want to be careful with my words, because I know there's pain, there is racism. There is racism, in America and other countries. This is, when you have groups that are rioting, that racism on both sides, black and white and other minorities, in everyone, the racism, the tensions are gonna get worse. And does everybody know that? Like, it's not like, because I see some people and they're like, well, yeah, if it's got to be violent, it was coming. It's gonna set race relations back so far. Like, I mean, years back. Is this obvious stuff? The tool is contact tracing, and it's a familiar tool in that the peaceful protests are awesome. And that's the biggest percentage, right? The biggest percentage of white and black and other minorities who want change, they're doing the protests, and that's good. And the people who are doing peaceful protests and trying to remember George Floyd, and they didn't go out for violence. They really can't do anything about the people who are creating violence. But that's a huge problem. I mean, it's so much violence. It's gonna. I don't see how it's even gonna make. They'll have more stringent rules for police. I think there will be lip service about race relations, but I think it's going to make it's going to make the way that police see things even worse. This is just from a targeted individual's perspective, throwing fuel on the fire of a bonfire that's burning. So the tool is contact tracing, and it's a familiar tool in that people have been hearing about it frequently in recent weeks as an important component of a comprehensive coronavirus pandemic response. According to Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington, officials there have been using what they describe, without going into too much detail, as contact tracing in order to build out a picture of protester affiliations, a process that officials in the state say has led them to conclude that much of the protest activity there is being fueled by people from outside coming in. I think it's both. I think it was people who live there and some people coming in, but yeah, very, very organized. Very, very organized from some organizations with tons of money. Who want to actually tell people, yeah, we're fighting for socialism and we're fighting for social change, but they actually want different things. They want the military-industrial complex to be strengthened. They want the top of the pyramid to have more control over the people. So every different level is manipulating the level below them, all the way up to the top of the pyramid, who's manipulating every level to do what it wants. Let me show you guys this. I just wanted to make this a quick video, and I think I'm preaching to the choir on my videos. You guys know this is manipulation. Peaceful protests are always awesome. Targeted individuals, we need more peaceful protests and things like that. But anything that's violent or just destroying businesses, this is obvious stuff, right? This is obvious stuff. It's going to set things back, and it's going to create so much terror, like from the military-industrial complex, so much terror from intelligence agencies, so much terror just straight from the governors of these states. They're going to have to get control of their state. You're going to have to bring in martial law, and then that martial law is going to stick around like everything else. I think this is obvious stuff. Minnesota using intelligence support from U.S. military amid riots, right? So Minnesota and other states are going to be using intelligence support. Now, check this out, guys. Check this out. So this is from Fox News by Adam Shaw. When was this? This was 4 days ago. And all this stuff is picking up. Like more intelligence support. Watch this. Minnesota's governor said Saturday the state is using intelligence support from the U.S. military to push back against the alleged organizer of riots that have occurred in the state in response to the death of George Floyd. Governor Tim Walz said the Pentagon was providing intelligence support of what they're seeing, what they're signal intercepting, right? Signals intelligence, and what SIGINT, what they're signal intercepting. They have obviously from NSA and others massive support to be able to see who these operators are. Now watch this. The specific reference the National Security Agency held, however, was apparently an error. His office reportedly clarified afterward that the NSA, which is a foreign intelligence agency, was not involved, and the governor misspoke. So we see there a lie. Like, he did mean the NSA, because there are contractors under the NSA doing remote neural monitoring, doing surveillance of citizens at their home. It's completely, the NSA is surveilling so many Americans in their homes. They're also torturing Americans with third-party contractors, mind control and stuff like that. Mind control, remote neural manipulation. So he was stating correctly that the NSA is helping them. So the NSA is going to have an even longer reach in the states with the riots first, but then it can bring it out to other states, and they already, under the surface, they're already torturing, mind controlling, mind reading citizens in their homes. Like, I actually think that that my attackers, the human operators with the automated system doing the V2K, and they're slowing down my computer, hacked into my computer, stealing stuff off of my person while I'm asleep. They hit me with a frequency when I'm asleep to make sure that I'm in a deep sleep, and then I don't know who's coming in. Like, I have people coming in, so I'm gonna have to like think of some way. I'm gonna have to put stuff on my door, think of something creatively. There's a camera outside in the atrium that it's pointed at my door. But the problem is the homeowners association, and all the people who would see that footage, who would have access to the surveillance, they are gang stalkers. They participate because somebody with authority from DHS Fusion Centers or InfraGard comes and talks to the homeowners association and said, this guy is a dangerous threat. We need to watch him. We need to break into his house and do these things because we want to get him out of the community. Whatever. They tell him a bunch of different things, right? Target individuals, you guys know this. Some of the things that I'm gonna say in some of the videos, I kind of want to say it like to people who don't know what's going on. But a lot of you guys who watch my videos, men and women who watch my videos, you're targeted individuals. You know this stuff. It's common sense to y'all. But I am gonna speak sometimes like, hey, look, I mean, people in the community are told a bunch of lies. It's targeted individuals. That's like common knowledge. So then even if that camera in the atrium gets somebody like breaking into my home while I'm asleep, the people who have access to the footage are actually participating, so it doesn't even matter. I mean, that's the kind of crap that we're dealing with. I just see what's happening is it's like it's getting the middle class and the poor classes to be, this is obvious, right? This is obvious, getting the middle class and the poor class to be divided and fight more and create more chaos, and then the people who are really, really screwing every race over, it's just feeding them. It's feeding them control, it's feeding them power, all the way up to the top of the pyramid, the wealthy families and the people who are actually pulling the strings of all the leaders of every country. Let's read a little bit more of this article, but I kind of wanted to just keep it short. Probably saying a lot of stuff that you guys already know, but I did want to show these articles just to, please share this. Please share this. Please let people know that everything that's going on, it's not a revolution that's going to help any race in the middle class or the poor class at all. It's going to screw over family businesses. The corporations are going to be fine. The corporations are going to be fine, and then the people who are a real threat, who are a real terrorist threat to just normal families, to just me wanting to just have free thought. Targeted individuals, you want to have free thoughts in your head, right? And not have voice to skull responding to every visual you have in your head and every thought. Those people, they are going to lap this up. And then people in the community, black and white, who don't really know what's going on and are affiliated with DHS Fusion Centers and InfraGard, they're going to be like, I gotta protect my community, and they're gonna put the screws to a bunch of innocent people who are being experimented on. And then that's gonna be the under the surface nobody talks about. It's just gonna fester. It's gonna fester and grow, right? While they slowly, well, not slowly anymore, right? They're bringing down contact tracing and all these things in martial law on the surface, which a lot of people, because of the violence, are gonna, applaud and really ask for, right? But nobody understands how far it goes. Nobody understands how devastating, mental rape, remote neural monitoring, but as well as forcing thoughts into the brain, messing with a person's emotions, with their personality, collecting data, mapping the brain while destroying the nervous system, destroying the body, creating all these physiological problems from a person being engulfed in microwaves, right? It's just like I'm right. I always say the word frustrated, and I'm sure that everybody watching this video, it's like, oh my, it's beyond. This is just, obviously we're all way beyond frustration. The thing that's, some people may be like, well, frustrations why people are, rioting out there. I really, from what I'm looking at, a lot of people who are actually rioting were paid to do that. Not all of them, right? Because there's paid protesters. I think a lot of the people actually do, like, they're setting up whole things of bricks that people can throw. A lot of them are actually paid to destroy cities, right? Who's further up the ladder paying for that? You'll have the military industrial complex there, because if it can get people to be violent and destroy things, chaos, order out of chaos, right? But the kind of order that we're talking about up at the top of the pyramid, is obvious, is control of people, but not just physical control, not just new laws to control people, not just martial law, control of their thoughts directly. I'm not talking about propaganda. I'm not talking about TV propaganda and stuff like that, and controlling and censoring social media. I'm talking about directed energy, electromagnetic frequencies, managing your thoughts, like while murdering you, while giving you cancer, while depleting your iron and your calcium, destroying the cells in your body, ripping apart your nervous system, signals intelligence to and from the brain, to and from the brain. Um, it's just it has been going on for so long, and nobody's even touching it, and the country's burning. Like, I don't see how people, with where we've been as target individuals for years and years and years, being tortured in our homes, and then looking at this is horror, because I see it and I'm like, this is going to screw me over way worse, and they're going to target more people. Targeting is going to be worse. There may be even worse protocols, because now they've been saying domestic terrorism, and like, shooters, people who are doing mass shooting. We got to be worried about those people, and they've been using that as fuel for DHS fusion centers in Infraguard, and these contractors under the NSA, CIA, DIA, the DOD, DOJ, right? Very, very sophisticated web of who's doing this. But now they can really start banning about the word domestic terrorist, and they can hit whoever they want. So many awful things are happening right now in our country and the world. Hard to find a perspective. Impossible to find a perspective that's hopeful. So I've got to trust in God, you guys. We got to trust in God. What my grandfather said: even though he slay me, I will trust in him. I'll be a good person. I will help others until the end of my life, right? We gotta have more good, intelligent, informed people. Even the smartest people in our society are not informed about how far this is going in our communities. And then these actions will be used against all of the people. It's going to be used against the last people that you'd want to go after for a revolution, that you'd want to stop from tyrannical mind control, mind monitoring, mind rape, and surveillance in homes, surveillance in brains. I'm saying some things over, all this stuff that's going on. You're the last people, the people that you are feeding and helping. And I know nobody's like rioting who's watching my videos probably, but this is bad. This is feeding the worst people in the world all the way up the pyramid. This is obvious stuff that I'm saying. Keep saying it's obvious stuff. I'm just going to say it, but these articles are the important thing. I put a video out before this. White guy says we're on your side, receives building supplies. It's so horrible, and that one nobody got physically hurt, but there's so many people, and I can't remember the officer's name, Dorn. Officer Dorn, he was a retired police officer, was protecting a store and got shot over some TVs. Um, Horrible, horrible violence to both black and white people in these things, and it just, hopefully it'll be curtailed. But it seems like everything now in society, like everything that's going on, and as a targeted individual, I really understand this the microcosm of what I'm going through to the macrocosm of what the population of the globe, but especially right now, the United States with these riots, everything's a catch-22, right? They have these algorithms so that it's like people are like, okay, well, there's these riots and we want those stopped. A lot of people want the riots stopped. They want businesses protected and everything like that. Bring in martial law. Okay, well, good, martial law to stop it. The National Guard needs to come in. Even me, like being a target individual, I want the National Guard in there to stop the murder and destruction of small businesses, right? I don't want them hurting peaceful protesters or anything like that. But it's a catch-22. The National Guard comes in the States, and then we're screwed, martial law, right? So it's like everything that I'm seeing in this and other countries, even before the pandemic, the coronavirus, it's like this complicated catch-22 to people. So me as like a one person, one target individual, and you guys, I think, especially being a target individual, knowing how far brain rape, mind control, like to just normal people in their communities who are being tortured with directed energy, gang stalked. I mean, just horrible wartime atrocities. The most important thing that I think we can do is make people aware of this level, and it's seemingly impossible because people are like, oh, what remote neural monitoring, and it seems like, well, it's bad, right? It just seems like we're allowed to talk about what the top of the pyramid will allow people to talk about, even when it seems like some truthers have like gotten to the bottom of things. There's FFs, and the New World Order is doing the pandemic on purpose. I think a lot of those things, it's like they're like, okay, well, we're gonna have some people talking about that, but we need to make sure that they think that remote neural monitoring is mental illness, and that's the important thing, because like you think you got them right. You think you've gotten the secret. Even me, like I'm missing stuff in this. I don't have the whole picture down. Like there's so many angles hitting the average family, black, white, Asian, Native American, purple, everyone, there's so many things that it's like, how do we keep track of all the asymmetrical warfare that's nailing us? But I think some people, they get the big picture of the New World Orders coming in, and then it's like there's this psychological operation of if something's not happening to you, it's about to happen, right? Like they're going to bring in chipping and tracking of people pretty soon, people who aren't experiencing like remote neural monitoring, mind control, mind reading, nervous system rape. They're like, the New World Order is going to do this soon. It seems like that is like this solid psychological operation. Like I'd probably do it. Like things that aren't happening to me, I'm like, they're going to be doing that soon. It's like, how did they do that? How did they do that to people? Okay, so Shannon Vavra says, the NSA directed me to the governor's office to clarify what he means. Walz's office has not returned my calls, emails yet. The NSA is domestically surveilling people. The NSA is torturing people. Contractors, they get third-party contractors. So that is like, I am pretty, I mean, that's the people who my attackers, the human operators, they claim to be NSA. So, and they'd have to be contractors. I don't know. I think some people directly in the CIA and directly in the NSA do some of this targeting, but I think the majority of it, they're hiring out to these Frankenstein third-party contractors that are both corporations and military at the same time, And we've talked about all that. But the NSA is for sure surveilling people, tracking people, and has been for many years. So what this guy, Governor Tim Walz, said, the Pentagon was providing intelligence support of what they're saying what they're signal intercepting. They have obviously from NSA and others massive support to be able to see who these operators are. He said NSA and he meant NSA. He's going to backtrack it because NSA is only supposed to surveil people abroad. It's only supposed to do signals intelligence. They're lying. Obvious. So it comes amid claims from state officials in the White House that the violence is at least in part being organized by out-of-state actors, but there are drastically different claims about which groups might be involved. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey tweeted Saturday, the city is now confronting white supremacists, members of organized crime, out-of-state instigators, and possibly even foreign actors to destroy and destabilize our city and our region. I just have to say, I know there's agent provocateurs in law enforcement, in those law enforcement that would be connected to community surveillance, community harassment. They want these things. They can get them more funding, get them more federal funding. I don't think there's a lot of white supremacists coming out and doing. I think Antifa's doing it. I think that Black Lives Matter. I think there's just a lot of independents, right, doing some of the writing, but they're being paid to do it from different organizations. I don't know about, I definitely think that's a spin, right? It pisses me off. I'm going to try and, I'm not racist, right? I'm not racist. I am racist. I'm racist in the way that I'm like, if somebody's a targeted individual, I understand them and they're my brother or my sister. Anybody who's not a targeted individual, I kind of don't really connect with because they don't understand what kind of hell that a human being go through. So I'm kind of racist in that way, but I think that's a spin. It makes me kind of angry how the leftist media is trying to say. It makes me very angry that the leftist media is trying to be trying to protect the rioters, trying to protect rioters that are breaking into small business and say they're protesters and stuff like that, and then put it off on not even Antifa, but put it off on white supremacists. This is horrible. I'm an innocent person being tortured. You guys are innocent citizens being tortured. We're called mentally ill, but you got people out there that some of them are just trying to make some money. Going out and blowing up ATM machines. People are getting killed, and the media is trying to protect them as much as possible because it's political violence. Political violence. The violence being done to us needs to be covered up because people are making money from it. But we need to let the rioters do their business because we need to let them do it for as long as possible. And we got to be politically correct about people breaking into small businesses and stores. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, Trump has blamed the violence on Antifa and the radical left, and I'd have to agree. Donald Trump says it's Antifa and the radical left. Don't lay the blame on others. Fox News is told that Waltz has not requested active duty forces from the Pentagon. Trump has said he could deploy the military quickly if needed, and he did. And he is at this moment. There were not any further details of what the intelligence support involved, but it marks an escalation of the response to the increasing violence seen, particularly in Minneapolis in recent days. And they're going to be doing it in other states. So I just wanted to show you all this as proof of what I've been saying is that these programs, these surveillance programs, DHS fusion centers, InfraGard, other community-based surveillance programs, but then also contractors doing remote neural monitoring, surveilling people in their homes, tracking people, and that's not even talking about contact tracing, right? Contact tracing is going to be this surveillance on the surface that people know about. So once again, coming from the top, bringing in all these martial law and contact tracing, the lockdown, destruction of the economy, everything that people know about, really beefing up and festering these things that people deny exist, right? And people have to know that the complication of what we're fighting, and then it's like a boa constrictor. If you struggle too much, it tightens its grip, right? And you got to figure out a creative way to cut its head off so it goes limp. And I don't have the answers. Like everything's so bad and so complicated, and I just wanted to show you guys those articles. I'm really just trying to survive right now. The remote neural manipulation and targeting is so deadly. It's so deadly, and I really need medical attention. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, you need medical attention. But it's like if I go to a doctor, I can be called mentally ill or whatever, put into a mental institution. So no medical help to be had. And it seems like with events, no, it is with events going on in the world since the pandemic and then even before, more fuel to the fire on top. So that underlying causes and illnesses in society and things that intelligence agencies are getting away with, citizens will participate in, but then deny it even exists, right? Those things are just being, just grown at this exponential rate, exponential rate. And I don't know what to do about it, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys these articles. Um, pray, we get our frequencies up. I'm going to try and get close to God and figure out, I want to, I'll be putting out information of how we can feel better as target individuals. The defensive stuff is great and it still works, but the problem is just that this goes on and on and on, and our attackers and the automated systems just never stop. Never stops. People, really, and my mom actually does believe me about it, but it's like she doesn't know what to do. So, I think we say it a lot. We're like, well, people need to wake up. All right, people need to wake up so that we can fight the new world order, right? And I think that a lot of people, they are awake to there's deception. There's a lot of deception, but it's so big that people are like, well, what do we do about it? And they're just trying to survive and take care of their families. So, all right, guys, I really hope y'all are staying safe. And I'll be, just looking for important information. Hopefully everything calms down soon, but it's not. Like things are gonna get worse. Like things are gonna get a whole lot worse. And more people are gonna be targeted. Worse to get better. I don't know, man. I think that I'm like hoping it's like a catch-22 thing. If more people are targeted, more people are remote neural monitored, that this could possibly come out. But they're going to be doing stuff, bringing stuff out on the surface and building all this stuff up underneath the surface, and it looks really bad. And I think the riots and protesting are spreading around the globe, and I think a lot of countries are going out and protesting. A lot of countries are having riots, and that all feeds the top. But I don't have the answer. Just think we got to be as good to each other as possible. See each other as human beings, instead of differentiating between color. I know there's problems with racism and stuff, but I just think we have to see each other as human beings and try to prioritize the evil, the real evil that is threatening every race of the majority of humans in the world, right? All right, guys, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one. I just wanted to kind of do that short video and show those articles. I'm going to put them in the description. I love y'all. Just stay safe. Try and stay as healthy as possible. And I'll definitely see y'all in the next one.